Most people think of John Deere or Case IH when it comes to legendary tractors. But what if I told you International Harvester built some of the most powerful, innovative, and flat-out brilliant machines from the 1960s through the 1980s, tractors that could outpull, outlast, and outwork nearly anything in their class? Yet today, almost nobody remembers them. From V8 monsters that roared across American fields to row-crop workhorses that broke the 100-horsepower barrier, these are 10 forgotten International Harvester tractors that deserve the spotlight again. And trust me, number 8 will surprise you. Number 1. International Harvester 1206 Turbo. In 1965, International Harvester stunned the farming world with a tractor that was as bold in looks as it was in performance, the Farmall 1206 Turbo. This was the first row crop tractor in America to break the 100-horsepower barrier, and it did it with style and attitude. Under the hood was a turbocharged 6-cylinder diesel that cranked out 112 PTO horsepower, enough muscle to make it the king of the field at the time. For farmers used to working with 70-80 horsepower machines, the 1206 was a revolution. It could pull bigger plows, run larger planters, and cover more acres faster than anything else of its day. But the 1206 wasn't just about raw power. It introduced American farmers to turbocharged performance in tractors, showing how a compact engine could deliver massive torque with better efficiency. It also had the looks to match its reputation: white fenders, white grille, and a bold red paint scheme that stood out in any field. Many farmers still remember the distinctive whistle of its turbocharger, a sound that became synonymous with power in the mid-90s. So why is it forgotten? Because the 1206 was produced for only 2 years, from 1965 to 1967. By the late 60s, IH had already moved on to the 1256 and 1456, and later the famous 1066, which overshadowed the 1206's legacy. Yet without the 1206 paving the way, those later models might never have existed. The 1206 was brilliant because it proved the future belonged to turbocharged power. Forgotten only because of its short production run, it remains one of the most groundbreaking tractors IH ever built, one that deserves to be remembered as the machine that started the horsepower race in American agriculture. Number 2. Farmall International 656 Hydra. After experimenting with the HT340, International Harvester decided to bring hydrostatic technology into a production machine. That moment came in 1965 with the introduction of the Farmall 656, a versatile row crop tractor offered in gas, diesel, or LPG versions. 2 years later, IH stunned the market again by launching the 656 Hydro, the first widely available tractor with a hydrostatic transmission. For farmers used to grinding through gears, the Hydro was a revelation. Instead of fixed speed ranges, it offered infinite variability within high and low ranges, all controlled smoothly through a single lever. No clutching, no jerking shifts, just smooth, seamless control of ground speed. This was particularly useful for jobs requiring precision, like planting or cultivating, where small speed adjustments could make the difference between success and frustration. The 656 Hydra used a Sundstrand-built hydrostatic unit connected to IH's proven 6-cylinder engine that delivered around 70-80 horsepower. Its compact design made it a favorite for mid-sized farms that needed flexibility more than brute power. Operators loved the comfort and ease of operation, especially in stop-and-go tasks where conventional gear-drive tractors wore down both man and machine. But the Hydro had its weaknesses. It was less fuel-efficient than gear-drive models, tended to run hot during heavy field work, and was more expensive to maintain. As a result, not all farmers embraced it, and IH eventually replaced the 656 with newer models in the early 1970s. Why was it brilliant? Because it was the first real proof that hydrostatic drive could work on the farm, making life easier for operators. Why is it forgotten? Because later Hydro models and larger tractors overshadowed it, leaving the 656 Hydro as a stepping stone in tractor history. Number 3. International Harvester 1026 Hydro. If the 656 Hydro proved the concept, the International 1026 was the bold step that tried to bring hydrostatic power into the big leagues. Produced only from 1970 to 1971, this was the first production tractor over 100 horsepower with a hydrostatic transmission, a milestone that put IH in the spotlight once again. Under the hood, the 1026 carried a 6.7-liter six-cylinder diesel, delivering about 112 PTO horsepower and more than enough torque for serious fieldwork. What set it apart, of course, was its heavy-duty hydrostatic transmission. Farmers could plow, plant, or haul with smooth, infinitely variable speed control at horsepower levels that were unheard of for hydro systems at the time. It was a marvel of engineering, giving the operator precision and comfort at a scale no one had attempted before. Yet despite its brilliance, the 1026 was short-lived. Hydrostatic systems at that power level were expensive to build, fuel-hungry under heavy loads, and less efficient than conventional gear transmissions. Only about 2,572 units were ever made, making it one of the rarest production tractors of its era. Many farmers, while impressed, weren't willing to gamble on such a new and unproven technology when tried-and-true gear-drive tractors like the 966 or 1026 were available. The 1026 Hydra's legacy is one of ambition. It showed that IH wasn't afraid to push the limits of what was possible in tractor design. Today it's a collector's gem, but in mainstream farming memory, it has been overshadowed. Why was it brilliant? It pushed hydrostatic technology into the high horsepower category. Why was it forgotten? Because the market wasn't ready, and IH didn't produce another big hydro tractor for decades. Number 4. International Harvester 1468. The early 1970s were a horsepower race in American agriculture. Farmers demanded bigger machines to pull larger plows and handle expanding acreages. In response, International Harvester introduced one of the most unusual tractors in its history, the 1468, built from 1971 to 1974. At first glance, it looked like just another member of the popular 66 series lineup, but under the hood was something radical, an IH-built V8 diesel engine borrowed from the company's truck division. The engine was an 8.9-liter DV550 V8, modified for tractor use. It produced around 145 PTO horsepower, a big number for its day, and delivered a unique sound that no six-cylinder could match. Farmers who owned one often described the roar of the V8 as unforgettable. It had a deep, throaty rumble that turned heads at field demonstrations. The tractor was marketed as the Big Power Champ and promised unmatched pulling strength for heavy implements. But for all its drama and muscle, the 1468 had flaws. The V8 was detuned compared to its truck counterpart and often ran on only 4 cylinders at low idle, making it rough and smoky. It was thirstier on fuel than IH's inline-6 engines and harder to maintain because of the cramped V8 layout. Many farmers found it impractical for everyday use, especially compared to the more reliable 1066 or 1466 models. Only about 2,905 units were produced, making it relatively rare. Why was it brilliant? Because IH dared to think differently, giving farmers a tractor with both raw power and personality. Why is it forgotten? Because its quirks overshadowed its strengths, and it was quickly discontinued. Today, the 1468 is more of a collector's curiosity than a common farm sight, but for a brief time it was the loudest, boldest tractor in the field. Number 5. International Harvester 826. Before the horsepower wars escalated in the 1970s, IH experimented with improving operator convenience and performance in mid-sized tractors. The International 826, built from 1969 to 1971, was one such experiment. It wasn't the biggest or flashiest tractor IH ever built, but it was one of the first to bring advanced shifting technology to farmers who didn't necessarily need 150 horsepower machines. The 826 came with a choice of engines: a 102 horsepower 6-cylinder diesel, or gasoline and LPG versions for farmers who preferred alternatives to diesel fuel. But its most innovative feature was the 16-speed torque amplifier power shift transmission, a rarity at that time for tractors in this size class. Instead of a basic 8-speed, the operator could take advantage of a wide range of gears and make smoother shifts without losing as much momentum in the field. For row crop farmers, this was a welcome step forward. The tractor also had a gold demonstrator variant, painted in a striking gold finish, used by dealers to showcase the new hydrostatic and power shift technologies to prospective buyers. These were eye-catching machines and gave IH a marketing boost as it tried to stay competitive against John Deere's new generation models. Unfortunately, the 826 had a short production run. Only about 316 units were ever built. Its limited numbers meant it never achieved wide adoption, and by the time IH moved to the 66 series, the 826 was already obsolete. Why was it brilliant? Because it offered high-end transmission technology in a smaller package, showing IH's commitment to innovation across its lineup. Simply because so few were made, and it was quickly overshadowed by newer, more powerful models. Today, spotting an 826, especially a gold demonstrator, is a rare treat for tractor enthusiasts. Number 6. International Harvester 6788. By the early 1980s, International Harvester was fighting to stay alive, but that didn't stop the engineers from building some of the boldest tractors the world had ever seen. Among them was the 6788, the largest and most powerful of the famous 2+2 tractors that farmers nicknamed the Anteaters for their long-nosed design. The 6788, introduced in 1981, was rated at 156 PTO horsepower and powered by IH's proven DT466 turbocharged 6-cylinder diesel. What made it special was the unique forward cab articulated design. Unlike conventional 4WD tractors where the cab sat behind the hinge, the 2+2 placed the operator in front of the articulation joint. This gave the farmer incredible visibility of the row crops and a more stable feel in the field. It was part row crop tractor, part four-wheel drive brute, a true hybrid that could do just about anything. The 6788 also featured IH's 12-speed transmission, full-time four-wheel drive, and heavy-duty hydraulics. Farmers who used it praised its pulling power, fuel efficiency, and versatility. It could handle tillage, planting, and heavy draft work without breaking a sweat. For larger farms, it was a dream machine. So why is it forgotten? Because IH collapsed just a few years after the 6788 was launched. Fewer than 2,500 units were ever built before Case IH took over and ended the 2+2 experiment. Deere and Steiger-style 4WDs soon dominated the market, pushing the 6788 into obscurity. Why was it brilliant? Because it was years ahead of its time, blending row crop visibility with 4WD power in a way no other company dared. Why is it forgotten? Because it was a victim of IH's downfall, leaving behind a legacy that never got the chance to grow. Today, surviving 6788s are cult favorites among collectors who appreciate their unique design and place in tractor history. Number 7. Farmall 756. By the late 1960s, International Harvester faced stiff competition from John Deere's new generation tractors, which had captured farmers' attention with modern styling, improved comfort, and reliable performance. In response, IH rolled out the Farmall 756 in 1967 as part of the 56 series. This was designed to be a durable mid to large row crop tractor that could handle the increasing demands of American farms. The 756 was offered with two main engines, a 310 cubic inch German-built diesel that produced around 76 PTO horsepower, and a 291 cubic inch inline-six gasoline or LPG option for farmers who preferred traditional fuels. With a compression ratio of 16.1 and a rotary injection system, the diesel was considered reliable and efficient for its time. The tractor featured an 8-speed transmission with IH's famous torque amplifier, which gave operators more flexibility when changing speeds under load. Power steering, live hydraulics, and optional rollover protection were also offered, reflecting the growing emphasis on operator safety and convenience. On the farm, the 756 quickly earned a reputation as a tough, dependable machine. It could handle heavy plowing, baling, and planting tasks without breaking down easily. Farmers liked its straightforward design, which made it relatively easy to maintain. But while it was a good tractor, it wasn't enough to change IH's fortunes. Deere's lineup offered sleeker design and broader marketing, which pushed the 756 into the background. Why was it brilliant? Because it embodied IH's reputation for toughness and could stand shoulder to shoulder with its competition in terms of durability and power. Why is it forgotten? Because it lacked the flash of Deere's models and was quickly overshadowed by the newer 66 series tractors that followed. Today, the 756 remains a reliable machine for collectors and small farmers, but in the grand story of tractor history, it's a quiet workhorse that rarely gets the spotlight. Number 8. International Harvester 1568. If the 1468 was bold, the International 1568 was its bigger, meaner sibling. Built between 1974 and 1976, this tractor was one of the most powerful two-wheel drive row crop tractors of its time, boasting a massive 9.0-liter DV550 V8 diesel engine. Rated at around 172 horsepower gross and about 150 PTO horsepower, the 1568 was a true monster in the field. It was designed for large-scale operations where raw power mattered most. The 1568 used IH's 12-speed power shift transmission and was built on the rugged frame of the 1566. At over 13,000 pounds, it was heavy, muscular, and ready to pull massive implements that would have stopped smaller tractors in their tracks. Farmers who owned one appreciated its brute strength. This was a tractor that could handle big plows, large chisel cultivators, and belt-driven grain equipment with ease. Its unique V8 sound also gave it a character that farmers never forgot. But brilliance came with drawbacks. Like the 1468, the V8 design made the tractor harder to maintain compared to IH's six-cylinder engines. The 1568 was also fuel-hungry, which became a liability during the fuel-conscious 1970s. And with only 862 units produced, it never reached enough farms to become a staple. Farmers who wanted high horsepower often turned to the 1586, introduced shortly afterward, which was more practical and efficient. Why was it brilliant? Because it pushed the limits of what a two-wheel drive tractor could do, giving farmers a taste of V8 muscle power. Why is it forgotten? Because its rarity, cost, and maintenance headaches meant it never gained a strong following. Today, surviving 1568s are collector's gems, rare, expensive, and cherished by enthusiasts who appreciate IH's bold gamble on V8s. Number 9. International Harvester 1566. While the 1568 stole attention with its flashy V8, the International 1566, produced during the same years, was just as important, if not more so. Rated at 183 horsepower gross and around 160 PTO horsepower, it was one of the most powerful conventional tractors IH ever produced in the 1970s. Under the hood was a 7.1-liter turbocharged inline-six diesel, an engine that balanced raw strength with better efficiency than its V8 sibling. The 1566 was equipped with a 12-tom transmission and could be fitted with an extra-large fuel tank for long days in the field. Farmers appreciated its ability to handle the heaviest jobs without complaint. Deep tillage, large planters, and heavy grain carts were no problem. In many ways, the 1566 proved that IH could deliver high horsepower without resorting to radical engine experiments. With 7,417 units built, the 1566 was not nearly as rare as the 1568, but it still didn't get the long life it deserved. By 1976, IH was already shifting its focus to the newer 86 series, and the 1586 quickly replaced the 1566 at the top of the power ladder. As a result, the 1566 spent only a brief moment in the spotlight before fading from memory. Why was it brilliant? Because it represented peak IH engineering in the 1970s, massive horsepower in a reliable package. Why is it forgotten? Because it was quickly eclipsed by the 1586 and then swallowed by the Case IH merger. Today, the 1566 sits in the shadow of its more famous relatives. But for a time, it was the muscle tractor every farmer dreamed of owning. Number 10. International Harvester 856. The Farmall 856, introduced in 1967, holds a special place in international harvester history as one of the company's first tractors to break the 100 horsepower barrier. At a time when most tractors in the field still hovered around 70 to 90 horsepower, the 856's 111 gross horsepower and 100 PTO horsepower made it a game-changer for large-scale row crop farming. Power came from a 6.7-liter six-cylinder diesel, which delivered smooth, reliable torque. The tractor was paired with IH's 16-speed torque amplifier transmission, or an optional 8-speed gearbox, giving operators a wide range of speeds for different tasks. At just over 10,000 pounds, it was relatively lightweight for its size, making it surprisingly nimble for a 100-plus horsepower machine. For farmers, the 856 meant they could pull larger plows, run bigger planters, and cover more acres in less time. It hit the market at exactly the right moment, as American farms were expanding rapidly, and efficiency was the name of the game. Yet despite its importance, the 856 didn't stay around long. Only 2,113 units were built before IH transitioned to newer models in the early 1970s. The arrival of the 966 and 1066 soon overshadowed the 856, which quietly slipped out of the limelight. Why was it brilliant? Because it marked IH's entry into the 100 horsepower club, setting the stage for even bigger and better tractors. Why is it forgotten? Because its short production run and quick replacement meant it never gained the iconic status of later models. Today, the 856 is a hidden gem for collectors, rare, capable, and symbolic of IH's push into the high horsepower era. There you have it, 10 international harvester tractors that were brilliant in their time, but have nearly vanished from the spotlight today. Each of these machines proved that IH wasn't just keeping up with the competition, they were pushing the boundaries of farm power and design. If you enjoyed this trip down tractor history, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with other tractor fans, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of farming legends. Which of these forgotten tractors was your favorite? And did we miss one you think deserves a spot on the list? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.